But who better than me?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the history of fraud, part 3, the defense of fraud. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Now, part of me wants to talk about all the times where we've had this so-called defensive genius, this elusive heavyweight, can't be touched, and all of the different narratives. And we'll probably get through that somewhere in here. We'll look at some of the previous displays, and we will decide whether any of that has merit or not. But I think initially, when I was looking to do this, because remember, we was just going to go straight into clown mode, the same as we was going to do on Sunday, but I decided to bring my guy Joe Abib on to have a balanced debate, because I felt that was probably more nuanced. We're going to get to the shit talking today, but I wanted to, in this one, have a look at what we're going to call the FDL, right? The Fury Defense League, and all of their comments with regards to this fight. Even the ones who said that, Usyk won, but ultimately, I saw something earlier on whereby I think it was Richie Woodall gave Tyson Fury every one of the first 6 rounds in this fight. If anyone was watching the TNT Sports broadcast of the boxing on the weekend, please tell me if that's correct, because it may have been that he gave him 5 rounds of the first 6, but someone told me, I heard earlier on, that he actually gave Tyson Fury all 6 of the first rounds, which just goes to show you that the bias, the fix was in, as far as a lot of these people were concerned. And so you really had Usyk having to, come from the depths, just basically had to pull it out the bag in order to make sure that he couldn't get jobbed on the scorecards. Because we've seen closer yet more, but still clear decisions go the wrong way before. Like, this probably wouldn't have been the worst, but this would have been somewhere like upper middle, in terms of if it had have been given the wrong way, or if it had have been given the draw, as everyone was stating. It's going to be a draw. It's going to be a controversial draw. Everyone was saying that, almost to the point where they already knew, like, everything was in the bag. It was all down. It was all good to go. But then, someone comes and upsets the apple cart. They flip the script, and that could have been Usyk on this occasion. Before we get into all of that, and I might even bring a couple people on to talk with me a little bit later. Let's see who is in the building and who is here from early. So, first off, Philip Anson, number 1 in the building. Shout out to you and Happy New Year. Man like Bruce Kai. Fight Fan TV Live, Danny, how are you? Blessings and salutations. Jonah 31 in the building. Pokes is live. Shout out to you, Pokes. Yes, Happy New Year. Definitely. North Bank, Bren, shout out to you each and every time. Cuz D'Amato also in the building as usual. Interesting, Philip. You got Frank Warren using a bipolar excuse for time. Fury on talks with him. Yes, and you know what? Funnily enough, I spoke with Frank Warren earlier on today. So that will be up tomorrow. I got a nice little 10 minutes out of Frank. We addressed part of that. So yeah, look out for the video. And also, if it hasn't already popped up today, which it may not have, look out for the October Red interview with Frank Warren. I think she got even longer than I did, and I didn't hear all of it, but from what I did hear when I was sort of wandering around, it was an amazing. It was an amazing conversation. So yeah, make sure that you guys have a look at that, and I will be uploading that, as well as I've also got a little interview with David Adelier, also known as David Adelaide. we spoke on it, and we actually 100% deciphered the pronunciation of his last name, which has been a sort of a big talking point amongst myself and some other people. So yeah, that will be up as well, and you guys can see the exchange we had with regards to that. All of that tomorrow morning before Basis Picks is going to be out in the evening tomorrow, because there is fights coming on from Friday this weekend. So yeah, just wanted to sort of put that out there. Shout out to iLucan as well, and Jam Down 187, the FDL in the building, 100%, I'm sure of it. But yeah, so 6 minutes in, I guess I want to try and keep this one fairly short, especially as it is a little bit later than usual. But yeah, as Philip said, you did have Frank speaking on this bipolar thing as an excuse for Fury being able to say certain things. Well, actually, no, he's not saying it's an excuse. So like, give him a break. But what he's basically saying is, give him, take it into consideration that he does have this bipolar disorder, which means that ultimately you will say certain things that are just in your head. Some, other cognitive people will have a filter, and they, sometimes what they want to say will go through their filter instead, and they maybe won't say it, but you just think it, you say it as bipolar. Now, personally, whether that's true or not, and I believe it's true because I know some people and I've had it verified other places that could be the case, I have an issue if you then say, well, basically they should be almost as like given a pass to be able to say certain things. Well, let's look at it this way. When you've got someone with Tourette's, right? When they got Tourette's and they've got the tic, and they'll just blurt out like random swear words, and they can't really control it, but it's what they're thinking, and it just comes out and they can't help it. Well, where do you draw the line with this whole, well, they don't have they can't really control what they're saying, because it's in their head, right? So what you're saying is, these people are thinking things, but they just don't have the good sense or the filter to be able to not say it. So you get someone with Tourette's who will run around saying the N word, saying the P word, saying other very derogatory things, and then apologizing. I'm sorry. But that means it's in your head. That means you're consciously thinking about wanting to say these words. So if it's the same with bipolar, well, in that case, you're actively wanting to say these disrespectful, derogatory, rude, offensive statements, right? Should you really be given a pass for that? The fact that you can't stop yourself from saying something that's vulgar and disrespectful? Or should you be pulled up on it like everyone else? Because realistically, what we should be saying is, well, you shouldn't even be thinking those things, let alone saying them, right? That's if we're gonna be on this perfect society type situation. That's the theory. So what I posed to Frank Warren earlier, and it wasn't necessarily answered fully, but there was an answer in it. So like I said, you guys will see that. But I basically said, should there not be more protection from maybe Tyson Fury's management or his promoter to not be doing these interviews, so that he doesn't have the opportunity to say these things that will offend and upset people? I mean, to answer me that in the comments, like, don't you think, if you know that this person, quote unquote, has bipolar, and they are of a certain way whereby they will just react and say outlandish things just because they, that's just a part of their condition, wouldn't you not want to limit the amount of time they're in front of cameras or they speak to people? Would you not want to maybe have a representative talk for them for the majority of the time and make them only do select media where maybe you can edit certain things? Wouldn't that make more sense? That's what I'm asking. I want you guys in the chat to let me know if you agree with that or if you disagree. you know, let me see. What we got in the comments? And Jonah, where's Healer done for? He got some explaining to do. I'm sure he'll turn up. He did show up at the end of the last one, so I'm sure he will be here. Philip, Simon literally said the same thing on Talk Sport, that what you're saying, Frank, is we should give him a pass to say offensive and disrespectful things. I mean, yeah, to be fair, Simon did put some of that in there. I give him that. Hill said he wrote our names down. He and Chris gone missing. North Bank, that man has weaponized mental health like no other. I believe that's what it is. I believe that's what it is. Yes, there is clearly something there, but you know, I do believe you know exactly what you're doing. And obviously the Defence League is in defence as long as he's still, I guess, maybe got some cash to deliver, or while there's still some, you know, some sort of monetization you can get from him. But we have to call these things out in general, because whether, like I said, whether you are mentally ill, whether you are cognitive of what you're saying or not, it's a more dangerous thing that you're actually thinking these things. And then it calls into question the people that do think these things but just don't say them. So they're in the closet. On one hand, you could say, well, respectfully, at least he's saying what's on his mind. But then in that same token, the fact it's on his mind should be an issue as well. Shout out to Bruce Kai in the building. Face, it's all damage control for someone who obviously is a horrendous and racist famous person that's trying to be protected and made into a mental health hero. Simple as. I mean, can't even argue. I can't argue with that. I can't debate that. There is definitely a protection there. Now again, do you have to treat certain illnesses and health conditions different to others? Yes, of course. But again, that's why I then said, well, where's the provisions to make sure that this guy can't say certain things? Or why don't we check exactly like what his state is before you go into these interviews? I get it, he's a grown man, but if he's a grown man with a limited capacity of intelligence, for whatever, if that's what we want to call it, bearing in mind, obviously, when did he drop out of school? 11, 13. So there's no necessarily education there. He's around a certain group of people who think a certain way and have a certain way of life and do certain things. But you then would expect him to not think the same way as some of them, whether those are bigoted comments, racial, stereotypical, maybe in occasions homophobic, sexist, who knows. Now, whatever it may be, if he needs to be protected from the media, then he also needs to be protected from himself. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Shout out to Lee. Always was, always will be. Frank and the media trying to cover his nasty ass. I mean, yeah. Lucan, if he's bipolar, then he should be allowed to commit crimes. Then when taken to court, use the bipolar thing as a defense. Crazy. The angry sports fan, shout out to you. Sick of the excuses for Fury. It's so annoying, and also taken away from Usyk's great victory. I mean, yeah, there's that as well. But to be honest, I don't mind if people want to take away from Usyk's victory, because I know, and I always knew that Usyk would win that fight. I haven't given Usyk the same levels of credit that maybe some other people have, because I expected the victory. Like, to me, Usyk goes up more in my estimation when he does something I'm not expecting, because I've always believed that he's levels above Tyson Fury, the same as I knew that he was levels above Anthony Joshua, and Tony Bellew and everyone else that he's been in the ring with. Ultimately, this is just, there's no one that I've seen him in against thus far that has made me say, oh, I think he loses this one. So I've always had him on that pedestal, at that upper echelon. There's not much higher he can go in my estimation, until such a point as maybe he doesn't have any movement, and he's literally, maybe he's falling apart, and he manages to gut out some like mad gutsy Rocky style victory against a much bigger guy, the young up and comer, and then I could say, wow, that was amazing. But outside of that, he's just Usyk to me. that's how I view him. So yeah, if they want to denigrate or take away from his victory, so be it. He's already at the top of my estimation and can't really get much higher. The bar is there's very marginal errors for him to be able to shoot past that for me. The beauty of the pencil, shout out to you, Big Bass. Good conversation to have. I think we need to address it. Big up to Alexander the Great. Alexander Sankey, big up Bass. Glad I could catch this before I lose service. I'm working in these horrible reception areas lately. Oh gosh, yeah. And you know what, Alex, it's been dreadful over here all day. It's been pissing down with rain. Receptions have been going in and out. So yeah, this one, it's not gonna be too long because we're gonna have we're having a bit of our debate now. We're gonna have our laugh and our joke in sort of the next 5 to 10 minutes for about maybe 10 to 15, and then we're gonna close it off because this is a bit later than we was planning on doing today. I was at the Joe Joyce and Derek Chisora press conference, the Magnificent Seven press conference, the return of the Ring of Fire victors of Queensbury. Yeah, and it lasted. We was there from I got there late, but I got there 12:30, just before the first press conference was starting, and the last one didn't start until just after 4:30, because Derek Chisora was like an hour late, hour and a half late. So yeah, it's been a long day, but there were some good conversations to be had. Alex, I'm here for the jokes. Fury deserves it all after that shite he's been talking. Yeah, no, 100%. That's sort of the way I see it, and yeah, to me, it's weird. It's like, all right, I get it that you maybe don't want to 100% say that this guy has been exposed, and I'm not even going to say necessarily that he was exposed on a physical level or a boxing level like that, because to me, I've always said Fury is good. He's just majorly overrated. He's never been as good as people have claimed him to be. Like, again, the story of the Defence of FRAUD, we're talking about this defensive elusive wizard. Well, how can you get knocked down 8 times in your career by people, most people that are actually non-punchers, according to the people that you speak to about him, or badly bruised and badly marked up against all of these guys, but yet you are this defensive wizard? It doesn't really make sense. I mean, let's actually look at anyone sort of in the top 10 criteria. So we got Joseph Parker, right? Joseph Parker got put down twice by Zhang, got up, managed to survive that, but didn't, he never touched the canvas once against Deontay Wilder. Wilder hit him with a couple of decent shots, but for the most part, Joseph Parker defended, got in close, and was able to stop Wilder from working. That tells you that it can be done. So how is it in 2 out of the 3 fights that you had with this guy, he put you down 4 times? Not only did he put you down 4 times, in the first fight, okay, you weren't in shape. Fair enough, we can understand that you're not in shape for this battle. But you got the measure of this guy from round 12. So the next fight, you do a masterclass on him. How do you end up reverting in the third fight, knowing that you already have the blueprint to not get hit by that right hand? Because you've done it already. Regardless of what people think may have been going on in his mind, you've already got the blueprint, you've done it. You've been through this guy twice already. You've cracked the code and you revert back. I mean, Tom Schwartz, it's not like, oh, he was of great shakes for you to act the way that you acted there. Otto Wallin, again, someone that I knew very well. I knew who he was. I knew he was a decent heavyweight. But this same guy, you literally rolled into punches with this guy. Hence how your eye got spliced open. Hence how in the last round you was basically nearly out on your feet from rolling into a left hook from him with your arms down. But you're supposed to be a defensive wizard. Like most people with great defense, Floyd Mayweather, one of the best, Pernell Whitaker, one of the best. What do? Hands up. Like you keep your hands up at all time, and you angle yourself to make sure that certain shots don't hit you. It's not that difficult. Yes, he's a big guy, he's a big target, but really and truly, the only place, if you're that good of a defensive wizard, if you're that quick, that elusive, that much of a like a generational talent, the only place anyone should be able to hit you is to the body, because you can't really move the body as much as you can move the head. You should never be getting hit with the amount of shots or the type of shots that Tyson Fury is getting hit with. This whole thing about, oh well, all I've got to do, how is he going to get past my jab? Imagine breaking the distance of that jab in the first round repeatedly before you was even able to throw a punch back. Like rocking your head back right at the end of the round, the best punch of the round, like when you're that tall, getting splattered all over the ring from like a ping pong ball, just all over the place. Like it felt like he was playing pat ball, the way that he was just getting bounced up, back, this way, that way, left, right, side to side. Like that doesn't happen to someone that's a defensive genius, because something in them stops that from happening. I've never seen any of the true defensive greats, as we'll call them, get beat up and landed on that much. Even the guys, like I said, Pernell Whitaker, those kind of things only happened right towards the end of his career, when obviously everything's kind of gone. But these things have been happening to Tyson Fury from not debut, but from his first 10 fights, when he was young and fresh and potentially on substances. So how do you get that moniker, and then how do so many people play into it? And what's actually really sort of weird about the whole scenario, right, is it's like the UK kind of knew what Fury was, and then it's like they were so enthralled with the US market and trying to appeal to what like the Americans say, that all of a sudden now they've bought into the exact same hype that the American market did because of the Deontay Wilder trilogy, the first fight and the second fight specifically, when all it took was some critical thinking and a bit of basic research just to realize, well, Deontay Wilder hasn't shown us anything on a consistent level, on a big enough level for us to really say and hang our hats on, okay, that's the defining victory. I mean, when did he face Luis Ortiz in the first time? That was about what, his 36th? I think it was like his 36th fight. Luis Ortiz was a perennial top 10 guy. You could maybe give an argument to say he might have been top 5, but he wasn't like top 3. So when you hang your hat on that as like the signature crowning win, and don't get me wrong, it was a good win. I gave him a lot of credit for the first one. But when that's the extent of your resume, how does that then equate to, oh, well, you ended up beating this generational great? And it's, as much as I love, like, my American compatriots, it's just one of their things. They bamboozled by wanting to just have an American heavyweight, because the American heavyweight division has always been strong up until when the Klitschko era started. They were always the main go-to guys. So they glorified the only heavyweight they had of any sort of substance at that time. And by proxy of that, Tyson Fury engineered an entire third act run of his career behind the smoke screen that the Americans put up for Deontay Wilder, which then in turn made the Brits and the Americans put up a smoke screen of Tyson Fury and his entire legacy and his abilities and his skill set, and everything became overinflated by Deontay Wilder fights. I mean, it's still a bit crazy today how that is actually the case and how that is what has transpired here. So I can't lie to everyone. Like, I'm not a person, I never usually get emotionally invested, and I wasn't even emotionally invested in this fight, to be totally honest. But I very rarely root for one person to win. Like, I normally will just give my opinion, who I believe is going to win and why I think they're going to win. And that's how it goes. Most of the time I get it right. Sometimes I get it wrong. when it's the big fights, I usually get the big ones, the big fights right for the majority of the time. But you know, mistakes happen. Sometimes you miscalculate. It is what it is. But this is one of those times where the loss just felt even more satisfying than usual. Number one, because from the sports point of view, you've got the guy that, for, you know, if we're just looking at the individuals, forget even like their personal lives or whatever, but just from a sports perspective and a jobs perspective, you've got one guy that's the consummate professional, like always doing things the right way, always being respectful of his opposition, training. When I say respectful, I don't even mean what they say about them, like, but training diligently for them, treating every opposition like the best possible, the best possible foe that you can face, the best rival, the best everything. Doing the work diligently, not blowing up in between fights, not, just quote unquote fighting down to the level of your opposition. Because how many times have I said, if you go fight down to the level of your opposition enough, when it comes to the crunch time, you're not going to be able to raise them levels because you're just in too many bad habits. You've gotten away with doing the bare minimum too many times. You can't get to where you need to get consistently enough. And from a sporting perspective, at least, that Usyk had to win that fight, because what does it say to the future generations if Tyson Fury won? Oh, well, it's okay to maybe rest on your laurels, or just be talented, or just to have a couple of advantages and be able to make that show. It's okay to not dedicate yourself to the sport, to not train hard, or to only train hard when it's time to fight, but to not live a good lifestyle while while your body is your actual tool and is your instrument to do your job. It's okay to abuse your body, because what he done it, I can do it. It's the same as when Andy Ruiz beat Anthony Joshua the first time. Funny enough, I picked Andy Ruiz, to beat Joshua, and I've got friends who can verify that. We all went to the shisha bar, and I said to them, "You guys don't sleep on Andy Ruiz. He's going to cause an upset here." And they all thought I was chatting shit. And then what did we see? But then what happened when he got the belts? All of a sudden, you had people, I don't even need, what do I need a gym membership for? The big guys are winning. I don't need to look after myself. I just eat cheeseburgers and I could be a heavyweight champ. And it was all the memes and everything. So yes, there are outliers in the sport. There are outliers in boxing, outliers in all sports, where sometimes someone is just so naturally talented that maybe it makes up for the lack of hard work that they're doing, but that's very rare. Even people like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, who were viewed as like the best of their generations without doubt, both of them, even though Messi was probably the more naturally skilled of the two, he still was dedicated to his craft. Cristiano Ronaldo, it was first one to training, last one to leave, extra drills, because he treated his body like his instrument, like his tool, hence why he ended up being so great for so long. So for the good of the sport, even just outside of whether you think Tyson Fury is a horrendous person or not, the sport needed someone like Alexander Usyk, a consummate professional, to win, to keep it alive and keep people motivated to do the right things to get to where they want to go. Because he's the definition of hard work and dedication pays off. The same as Floyd Mayweather, who was the face of boxing for a long period of time. You could never find Floyd Mayweather out of shape anytime between fights. From Money May to Pretty Boy Floyd, he was always in shape, always dedicated. You've got that a bit now with Devin Haney. I mean, yeah, he does kind of get big, but that's just because he's just a naturally big guy, but you never see him out of shape. Same with Anthony Joshua. Even when he is big for him, he's always in shape, he's always in the gym, always training. These are the kind of people that they set these examples to say, if you want to be the best, you have to make these sacrifices now. David Haye was another perfect one. His body literally started to break down because he used to keep pushing it to the limit just to make sure that he was always in the best physical shape he could be in, because he believed that being in that shape is the only way that he's going to be able to compete with these much bigger guys, because he was never a natural heavyweight. Him coming in the ring at certain times at 16.5 stone, like, he's a natural cruiser. Like, realistically, David Haye probably on a bad day, not eating everything out of the fridge, or training 5 times a week, would probably be sitting around maybe 14 stone 10. I reckon that would have been sort of the max he was really getting to. If we remember, when he said he lied and said, "Oh, I can't make cruiserweight no more," that was all mind games. He knew himself that his body just naturally would shrink down to that level when he stopped eating, when he stopped training. So yeah, but these are the kind of people that normally get the best out of themselves. Look at Terence Crawford. The level of discipline that Terence Crawford has is the reason why he is so good, why he is pound for pound top 3 from the last 10 years without, any sort of anyone to really dispute that. Constantly in shape, never out of shape, never see him drunk, inebriated, never see him eating junk food. He might eat stuff here and there, but you always see him dedicated to the craft, because he knows that while I'm here, especially in the most dangerous of jobs that you can have, where your life can legally be ended at any moment if you slip up, you have to be the best you can be. So all of these guys are the examples to set, and it's just satisfying to see that someone like Usyk, with all of his quote-unquote disadvantages and deficiencies towards a big Tyson Fury, like, overcomes them and shows people that being big ain't everything, and you can be big and still be good for nothing. And ultimately, yes, Fury will have success against many other people, but guess what? Now that veil is broken, and obviously you could say, oh, he's slowed down a bit, whatever. Cool. That's something that we can also have a look at. But when you look at all of that and you say, you now see the chinks in the armor, now that people have seen the way to beat Tyson Fury, because now there's a blueprint to do it, I guarantee you, if he was to go in the ring with other people, whether they're the younger generation or even of his generation, outside of Anthony Joshua, we'll talk about, that's a different outlier, but he would lose. He would lose more fights, because now now the smoke screen's gone. As soon as the smoke screen goes and the illusion gets shattered, a lot of people start to fall apart, or they start to get beat by people that initially before you never thought would be able to. But now there's the game plan. You know how to plan for him. Yeah, the size is always going to be an issue. The reach is always going to be an issue. Maybe the leaning on is going to be an issue, unless you studied how to deal with that. Usyk, the 6'3" middleweight gap tooth rabbit, showed you how to deal with the bigger man when you're the smaller guy with the better center of gravity. Like, so it's just a joyous week. It's been a great few days, and I know it's paining certain people to have to concede that Tyson Fury isn't as good as they thought he was. I concede the upset on a lot of people's faces. You'll get the few that try to find solace in, oh, well, that's the greatest I've seen Tyson Fury for the, that's one of his greatest performances ever. But imagine, like, as an elite guy, one of the people say is like one of your best ever performances is a performance you got beaten and beat up badly. Like, just what does that really say about you and your legacy, or who you've been fighting for the majority of your career? It's it's a great time. It's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to have these boxing debates and these talks. Now, let me get back to the chat, because I've been on my monologue. I told people this is my moment. But there's a lot of comments that's coming in. I'm getting through all of them now. Luke, and shout out Con and Charlatan inside and outside the ring, 100%. Bruce Kai, if Fury and the Luke fanboys never talked generational or Hall of Fame, then no one would have an issue. He's a good heavyweight, but doesn't have the resume or performances of AJ, but isn't seen as the same level. 100%. It's and the thing is, I don't even want to make this an Anthony Joshua comparison, because that's what a lot of people say. Oh, you only don't like Fury because you like Anthony Joshua. I'm not a big Anthony Joshua fan. People know this. I respect Anthony Joshua from what he does and the fact he's a consummate professional and he very rarely gets himself into problems and whatnot. But you know, he was never like my guy in the heavyweight division. Everyone knows I was a Dillian Whyte fan. I still am, regardless of whether he's coming towards the end of his career or he's not what he used to be. That was who I liked. Michael Hunter was another one in the division that I liked. Bakadir Jalilov. Obviously, Usyk has always I've been following Alexander Usyk back from the before the Glavatsky fight. I think it was even from like the Tbilisi Machunu, all of those fights from when I was first seeing Alexander Usyk. I enjoyed watching Usyk. Like these are the guys that I like and that I was championing. So yeah, I'm not a big AJ fan like that. So no one can come on here and say, oh, you don't like Fury because you like AJ, you're an AJ supporter or whatever. That's not the case. But I respect AJ more than I respect even some of the heavyweights that I'm actually bigger fans of, if that makes sense. Luke, and people claim this fraud is the master of mind games. Complete rubbish. Yeah, a lot of it is just about I'll shout the loudest. Fury's not even the master of mind games. You know what he is? He's just I'll keep throwing shit at the wall until something sticks. And then as soon as I see that you reacted to that one thing, okay, now I'm gonna use that. That's not really a mind game. That's playing the odds. That's called playing the dozens. Like that's all that really is. And it's just the fact that he's able to talk fast and talk over people to the point where it just seems like he's overpowering, to the point a lot of people just almost capitulate. Okay, fine, say what you want to say, I'm not interested anymore. And then he claims that as a mental victory. All right, that's what you're saying, isn't it? Philip, since when does beating Wilder make you the heavyweight of all time? I mean, there we go. The beauty of the pencil. Well done, Base. The work you're putting in is commendable. Keep up the good work. Your assessment over time have always been spot on. Fury is good, but overly hyped and protected by the media, etc. I appreciate that. Thank you. And you know what it is? Sometimes sometimes you can be a bit anti-establishment. So I might like a person, or I'm not too, I'm all right with them, but then they get a bit too much praise and you're like, oh, you almost want to push back because you feel it's just unjust, the amount of praise and the amount of corroboration and the amount of consideration that they get. Sometimes it might be that, and I've got no problems admitting that sometimes I push back because I don't like certain narratives. Other times it's because I genuinely see the facades of some people, and this is one of those. I've always seen it as a facade. I can't see it as anything other than that. Shout out to Jack Knight in the building. Big ups to you. Big up. Fight fan was like a game of squash. Yeah, just back and forth, this way, that way. Pat ball, squash, netball. Like it's like he was a basketball getting passed from teammate to teammate all over the court. That's how it looked. Have the Fury burners showing up tonight, Base? I haven't seen any. Maybe I didn't put the stream up quick enough for them. Maybe they had a early bedtime, because they normally come in early, but then they never here by 7:30 when the stream normally happens. Who knows? Luke, and I won't be surprised if Sugar Hill is asked to leave the camp, as he was alluding to his corner not giving him good instructions. Yeah, I heard that. I think it's mad because ultimately you look at it, Sugar Hill was the one that was actually trying to give him the best instructions, but you can't really give the instructions correct when everyone else you got 3 people in the corner, and like the loudest one is the one that's right by your ear. So even though Sugar Hill is right in front of his eyesight and you can see him, you've got that main one coming from this ear, and like you just can't really get rid of that, so you can't even properly hear what he's saying because this ear is just being dominated by who's right next to you. So, and obviously, yeah, I guess the dad will never be asked to leave because the dad is the dad. Like, the family is very important to a lot of communities, and through right or wrong, he will definitely be there. Jam down 187, former Southeast lineal and undisputed Patbull King. All right. I mean, I was pretty handy at Patbull in school still. I don't know if I still get it, but I could, do a couple training sessions and see, definitely take you up on that offer. It's stuff grab. Shout out to you. Keep it up, Base. I love what you do. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Like I said, I do this for you guys. So the moment you guys aren't enjoying the content is the moment I go away, because it's all for you. Hi, Luke, and he was moving around the ring like my old DVD screensaver. 100%. I saw all of those memes. It was all hilarious. Alexander, as an American, you're absolutely right, Base. I've been snapped out of it by you lot and Boxing Bros USA. Well, I'm glad that you've you took the, what was it, the red pill from the Matrix, and found the real world. I'm glad. I'm very happy that happens for you. Shout out to them and to all of the great defeaters and you four who run the undefeated pod. Appreciate that. Yeah, just say you too, because that's all Travis and KG. Like, I'm just an employee. I'm just contracted to work on Tuesdays and the occasional saving grace on a Monday. But they do all the hard work. They do all the posting of the clips and whatnot. That's their channel. That's their baby. I'm just so happy to be up along for the ride. But yeah, those are my brothers still. Red or Dead, shout out to you. If it wasn't for the Saudi money, Fury would still be cherry picking his opponents. Maybe a fourth Wilder fight. Well, he's mentioned the fourth Wilder fight on several occasions. So I bet you probably get the fourth Chisora fight first, and then say, "Oh, you guys want to see me fight Wilder again? The last one was close. He had me down on the floor." You know, that's what we would see. I'm pretty sure of it. Usyk's win over Fury was justice, 100%. Philip, Batman said the same thing about Ruiz as well. Okay, there you go. John Dealey in the building. Shout out to you, John. One of my favorite Midlanders. More importantly, Usyk won't duck anybody. 100%. If he's got to fight them, he'll fight them. Win, lose, or draw, Usyk. I've never seen Usyk turn down a challenge. The closest you can possibly get was the negotiations with Joe Joyce, but even then, that's purely because Usyk was waiting for his title shot, and he said, "Well, why am I going to go 50-50 or 55-45 with Joe Joyce when I'm the mandatory to fight for the belt?" If you want, if they want to take that fight, then it's got to be like 70-30 or 80-20 or 75-25, and it wasn't even Usyk saying that was his team, but. Fair enough, but that's the only time there was ever quote unquote reservations about taking a challenge or taking a fight. So I think Ruiz could beat Fury too if he was focused. I mean, look, that counter punch in the hands is a big thing. Shout out to you, Star Fox WR45E. Bernard Hopkins, that man lived like a Spartan warrior, the best longevity the sport has ever seen and probably will ever see. 100%. Even to a lesser degree, like George Foreman, while he became like big George Foreman or whatnot, but he never deviated from certain things, and he was a true Christian man, like a pastor in a church as well. So if if you're quote unquote a person of faith, well, you have your faith and you wear your faith proud. And he was able to parlay that into coming back and being the oldest ever legit heavyweight champion in history. So that's what you got to do. Red or Dead. Some boxing media are still trying to keep up the hype about Fury. When would they really study his body of work? Klitschko, Feint Fest, Wilder knocked down 5 times. Parker beat him in 1. Parker. Oh, unless you're talking about the Wilder part, yeah. I think with you have to consider he got to that weight through PEDs, and that is why his body broke down. When you use PEDs, your muscles get stronger before your tendons and ligaments. Well, as it was never confirmed, as he never failed any tests, I can't really speak on that, but that is something I've heard. Obviously, he had to do several things to get to the size he was able to get to compete with them guys, but I can't verify that, and until such a thing comes out, I won't tarnish his name with that comment. But fair enough, John. I wonder what Playboy Hay Hefner walks around at. He looks I saw David Hay last year. When was it? It was like last year, around about April, May times. I think at a KG and Travis did a comedy show in central London, and David Hay was there. Or it might have just been a Travis one by himself. But he looked probably, like I said, he looked about 14.5 stone, maybe like 14.10, so maybe 205 pounds, if that. He didn't look more than 200 pounds, to be totally honest. And but to be honest, he never looks that big in his clothes. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he was around that 14.5, 14.6 mark. John Dealey, when you are natural, your tendons and ligaments get stronger before your muscles. Okay. All right, John. Peak Fury was very beatable. That is why he was so strategic with his choice of opponents. Yep. Philip, it's like Ring IQ said, these so-called boxing fans just like the cowards and drama, like arguing on the internet. Yeah. Alex, Max Baer back in the old days of boxing showed he could beat up a 6'7" Luis Primo. Yep. Who weighed as much as Fury. Yep. Red or Dead, we all seen the best Fury Saturday night and it wasn't good enough. I gave him 3 rounds, that's it. Usyk, Ukrainian flag. Yeah, I hear that. I gave him 1 extra, but there's, I've gone back and I've watched it on several occasions, and there are still other rounds that I could have taken away from him, or if I wanted to, given 10-10s. But I was trying to be sort of generous, and I was scoring harshly towards him, and still was only able to give him 4 rounds. That's how I saw it. I sense enough people are watching from burner accounts tonight. Yeah, probably. But they ain't putting up the comments, though. As long as you have the right set of skills and you're not a chinny mess, a great little man can beat the big men. 100%. Jam down 187 base. He just ate Fury. That's why you won't speak on his iron chin. Iron chin Tyson. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I can't talk about the iron chin because then that just defeats my whole argument, because it is what it is. Stallone said Fury was the best heavyweight in history. It's an insult to all the greats. Yeah, well, I mean, he played a heavyweight on TV, so he wouldn't really know. Although the funny thing is, someone like Sylvester Stallone, he played Rocky. Rocky went up against legit giants in his films and won. Why would you not then be picking the small guy who was like you in the films? See, that's another charlatan move. But I'll forgive Sylvester, because he did great in my childhood. So Star Fox, most boxing media is fake and biased to know why they can't be objective. It's their job. Yeah, because then they'll lose access. That's all it's about. It's really all about losing the access to the people that you want to speak to get the interactions and the mentions and the comments for your channels and whatnot. And ladies and gentlemen, I know this is nothing to do with boxing. I just want to say this. Like, obviously, Atalanta have done an absolute demolishing job on Bayer Leverkusen in the Europa League, and it's a bit sickening for me, because number one, I picked Bayer Leverkusen to win. This is the first defeat of the entire season, and they've got the German Cup on Saturday. I don't know, that could now be the second defeat, and the season looks like it's crumbling. But such a shame. Anyway, yeah, back to this. Will you ever interview Luke? Not unless I'm paid to do so. And 100% I guarantee, if I ever do, it's not going to be any softball questions. You're not going to be able to vet what I'm going to ask, because there's been times where I've been vetted before, and I've told them that I don't know what I'm going to ask yet. I'll see where the interview takes me. So yeah, that's how I am. I'm not gonna be the nicey. I'm not just gonna, rip him apart, but I'll ask the questions the same way that True Geordie did, the same way that maybe to a lesser extent someone like Simon Jordan might-ish, I'll be honest with what I want to ask. And if you don't like it, oh well, that's such is life. Fury ducked Undisputed since he beat Wilder. Yeah, and Wilder ducked Undisputed before he lost the belt to Fury. So 2 peas in the pod, both as bad as each other. The Beauty and the Pencil, £2 super chat. Thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. I do appreciate that. Oh, actually, I should update. Bear with me one moment, people. I need to update my my ticker tape, because I now, for those who don't know, have a TikTok. Shout out to October Red, because she has absolutely battered me for the last year or so to do the TikTok. And I've put some stuff on there. So yeah, I'm just literally updating my banner, my ticker tape, so that people can, you know, if they want to subscribe to these or follow these, like, feel free. Obviously not beholden to do so, but if you do want to, I'm going to put them up so you do have them here. Let's get that up on the screen. Right, where are we? All right, Jack Knight. So his dad just needs a nursing home. Seriously? Yeah, well, that and maybe a few other things. Getting passed around the ring like a zoo. 100%. Shout out to you, Al Kuya. Definitely. Star Fox, there's bare toxic dads out there. Luke probably wishing John never came back from a milk run. Woo. Harsh, but maybe true. I'll call you again. Sugar Hill should have been more assertive. I don't know, but can he really be assertive in that moment? Because maybe it might look a certain way if he's telling, yo, shut up, I'm talking. And, you know, if you can get any of the cameras catching that, then it looks like dissension in the ranks. And does Tyson, you know, does he listen to that, or does he have to then defend his dad? Who knows? Do you think deep down Luke sees his dad as a liability? Probably. Some of his best performances came when John was not around, or when he couldn't get into America. So I could see that potentially. Shout out to Star RDR Films in the building. Nah, bro, you and Tony deserve some credit for the work. No, you know, appreciate that, Jack. But what I'm just saying is like, that's their baby, that's their channel. Like, they're the ones that go in and go hard for that channel 24/7. I dip in and out every Tuesday, and, you know, on Mondays, if I'm needed urgently, I might pop in. Outside of that, I can just float in and out, but they're the ones that keep that going. So that's all I meant by that. But yeah, obviously myself and Tony, like, we do our thing, we hold it down, and we do that with very little involvement from the head guys. They gave us pretty much full autonomy to do what we want to do. The only one time there was ever interjection on what we was doing is when KG didn't like some of the thumbnails that we were producing. So he gave us a template to use and just said, yeah, just do all your thumbnails like this, so that we can keep the quality up of the show and what you're doing. And it's been like that ever since. Starfoot Sugar probably didn't want to get headbutted and KO John ringside. Yeah, well, definitely, because he is the smaller man, so you know that John will definitely have an inkling to go after him. Jay Pearson 9626, shout out. Gatekeepers of Chisora ×3, Bomb Squad Wilder ×3, a White who AJ and Povetkin knocked the stuffing out of, got slapped about by Valine, dropped by Ngannou, and the Vlad win was awful. Most overrated heavyweight ever. I can't disagree. Like I said, overrated doesn't mean that you're shit, but it means that you ain't as good as people is claiming you to be, and he is definitely falls in the overrated category. It's funny, actually, earlier on, Frank Warren tried to give me an answer about Tyson with regards to, and he tried to compare him to Muhammad Ali, who lost 5 times, or Lennox Lewis, who lost twice to Ruckman and McCall. And I was running out of time in my interview, so obviously I couldn't push back on what he was saying, but I was listening like, I'm sure even you don't believe this, Frank, if we're being honest. But because I respect you, I'm gonna just leave it alone. It is what it is. And Luke, can put it this way, I'm sure Luke wasn't upset that Big John was not allowed entry into the USA. Yeah, man, shout out to you, Jay Pearson. When does Luke's rematch clause expire? Hopefully he doesn't use that to hold up the division. Well, apparently it's been activated already. That's what I've heard. I would assume you get 90 days from the last fight to enact it, or maybe 30. No, actually, I think it might be 30 days to choose whether to enact it or not. So we'll definitely find out by the 18th of June if he's that's the case. Can't see Ruiz being close enough to Fury. Well, AJ has improved from the losses. Will Fury, or will he be too arrogant in his ability, like certain media outlets still believe he's a great? Who knows? I've been saying it and I'll continue to. Andy Ruiz versus Ajit Cabello will be a great fight. Yeah, let him come through Jerome Miller, and that could be one. Travis's Son of David show. Yeah, Star Fox, you remember, must have been in that one as well. But yeah, Tony, David Hay was there. Do you think we will see Crawford Canelo fight, and who you got? So no predictions, but I do think the money at some point is going to be too good for that fight not to happen, personally. I think that Crawford is a stylistic nightmare for Canelo. And I don't think he'll be able to be bullied around the ring. But the question is, can he take those 168 legit power punches and take them well? If he can, then it's his fight to lose. Because everything else, he'll have advantages over Canelo Alvarez. I don't think Canelo's stronger than him, because we've all seen Crawford's strength. Like, it's crazy. He's got the longer reach. He's probably the more accurate fighter. So yeah. Fight from David Hay is 210 now. Okay, so 15 stone. Again, it's not that big. And he could quite easily lose at least 10 pounds. I was 15 stone about 7 weeks ago. 6-7 weeks ago. I'm sitting at around 193 now. I'm about 88 kg. And that's through pretty much just not doing anything. So Tyson Fury is racist, and with what he said about Ukraine, who does this guy think he is? Get up again, shout out to you. Folks is live. The boxing media here are even saying it was Fury's fight to lose. Can't make this up. Yeah, you know. He was in the UK. I got you, don't worry. Shout out to Alex for the $4.99 super chat. Thank you very much. Service again. I'm going to drop this and bounce. Stay blessed, everyone. Usyk is the truth. Fury is good, not great. See you on the next stream base. Shout out to you, Alex. Glad you enjoy, man. Hope you, definitely hope you come back on the next one. Right, I'm going to get ready to sort of close this one off, because I feel like we've all had our laugh and our say to a certain degree. Got a few other bits and pieces in here just to right. Someone said about speaking of Fury's iron chin, like he didn't get dropped every time that chin gets touched. The unbeaten streak is over, yeah. Red or dead. Everyone before the fight talking about height, forgetting Mike Tyson was 5'10", so was Rocky Marciano. Yeah, 100%. Chat, what was the best round 9 reaction you've watched to date? Mine, I think, I haven't seen all of them, but mine, I think, has to be David Hayes. He's like, and he's like, fuck bitch. I think that's the best one I've seen thus far. Come on, base. Who was checking questions pre-interview? All right. There was one interview I did have, the interview I had with Ben Shalom, where I was asked prior to the interview if I was going to ask anything about the Independent article or the Guardian article or something like that. And I was like, nah. I've got this. This is what I want to ask her some other bits and pieces. And the guy's like, what other bits and pieces? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. It will come to me when it comes to me, but I'm not going to ask about that because I don't care about that. And then I subsequently proceeded to go over my interview time by about 6 minutes, but you know, it wasn't my fault. But I got some good content out of it. So, you know, hey, that's not the only one, but you know, that's like the one that springs to mind like right now. But it wasn't directly Ben that had asked to vet the questions. It was a member of the team whose name I won't share because I'm cool with him. Phil Larkin, shout out to you. Since Vlad, Fury hasn't had a fight with anyone with good footwork or head movement. What is the tag? Oh, that must be about the TikTok. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for following that. Had to be Shalom or Queensbury. Do more vetting than Battersea Dogs. Oh, cool, yeah. Fury was already making excuses not to fight AJ if he had won against Usyk. Yeah, true. For Sugar Hill to be assertive, he should have refused to have John in the corner. Yeah, and would that have been able to happen? Who knows? Fury uppercut himself in the face. How can he be classed as a great? One of the best boxing clips I've ever seen. Yeah, that David Hager was funny. I ain't gonna lie. My money is on Sugar to spark John Bully Fury. Possibly. H done 88 Pro, shout out to you. I mean, I'm trying, man. I'm still. I probably could still go harder and go raw and, you know, go sort of a lot rawer in my opinions, but I'm trying to keep some semblance of respectability. Promoters do what promoters do, base. Frank will do Frank, innit? Yeah. No, shout out to Frank. You know what? I've got to rate Frank. He stands 10 toes deep on whenever he's on what he has to say, so I'll rate him on that. The best comparison to Fury is Primo Canero. Yeah. Do me a favor, Frank. Does resume mean anything anymore? Interesting. I can't see this fight happening in October. I agree. I don't think it happens then either, but we'll see. Ruiz beats Wilder for me. Fury beats Ruiz though, as long as he can keep it long, or else it's lights out. Shout out to D Style, $5 super chat. Thank you very much for attending. I thank you for allowing me on the round table on Monday. I did hear that maybe a few people were not happy with the length of time I took to sort of describe my thoughts on Fury and Usyk while I was there. But since that was the only segment I was on, I made up for all of the other segments in that one particular element. But yeah, shout out to D-Star each and every time. Vidal Tawaldi, shout out to you. Arguably, Fury is even behind Hasim Ruttman in history rankings. Ruttman knocked out Lewis and Corey Sanders. Additionally, had draws with David Tua and James Toney. I mean, and they're all greats, you know. So, yeah. Hi, Lucan. Did you see our fish eyes that says Luke is the greatest heavyweight? Then quickly corrects himself on talks, but he no longer believes in his man. Well, Fury to blame Usyk floppy gloves next week. And Sugar Hill drugged his water. Yeah, that would be hilarious. I know this isn't a big deal, but Fury also lies about his height being 6'9", which he's not. If you see him standing next to Magic Johnson, that will show you his true height, and he's always on his tiptoes. Yeah, we all know Fury is about 6'7.5", maximum 6'8". Yasmin Malik just in the building as we're about to close up. Shout out to you, Yasmin, each and every time. The US banned Furies, can we? Well, I don't know. I mean, will the Saudis take him full time? And if they don't, where else can he go? So I don't know. It'd be nice, but I doubt it's going to happen. I'll be watching on the playback. Okay. Good night, people. Thanks, Base, for your time. Virtuoso in the building. Shout out to you as well. I don't think Fury is strictly a fraud, but his accomplishments have been largely embellished. Well, the fraud isn't strictly about his accomplishment, it's about just him in general. There's so many facets of the fraud, but appreciate you, and I hear that. Chet Cook 1-2, shout out. I heard Fury is getting Bill Haney's lawyer. shout out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna close it off there. Thank you very much, everyone, for being in attendance. Like I said, it's been a late one today, but I appreciate everyone for rocking with me. Stay safe, stay in the chat. Interviews will be up tomorrow. Basis picks will be up tomorrow. We'll get more content popping throughout this week, and next week we're going to close off strong as my last full week of being able to do the channel like day in, day out. But until then, the Hardcore Casual out.
Maybe I'ma make it, maybe I'm not. In time we'll see. But who better than me? I don't care if you agree. I ain't saying that I'm better than anyone. But who better than me?